Hi, everyone. This is Irit Ezips for CSM Practice, the podcast, the YouTube channel, and the customer success strategy consulting firm. This podcast, if you're listening to it, is all about learning more about how to retain customers, expand their wallet share, create advocacy, but we can't do that without actually getting them engaged with our products and our solutions. What if we have thousands of clients and end users? What are we going to do about that? We can't hire enough customer success managers to cater to each and every one of them. Usually, most customer success teams, in addition to developing a higher touch model for their strategic accounts, they also heavily invest in digital experience. How many of us have attempted that and didn't get a lot of engagement? So today I wanted to invite Yair Bortinger, who not only won EMEA awards for the Customer Success Excellence in Innovation in Technology, but he's also going to shed some light on how he's thinking about developing these digital journeys for those clients so that he can increase engagement and adoption in these cohorts, how he handles new feature adoption, how he moves clients from just starting with the product, gradually doing more and more without overwhelming them. So Yair, welcome to the podcast show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Rit.
This is about how do we not overwhelm our clients and end users, but actually give them just the right whelm.
Exactly. There is a fine balance between spamming your customers where they just can't had enough and then they opt out, then having the right message at the right time. The first tip that I can give everyone when they start building a digital program, put yourself in the shoes of the customer. If this is something that you would like to have, if the frequency of emails that you are getting is something that you can handle, then it's okay. If you think you will be overwhelmed by yourself, if a vendor will send you so much emails, you need to tweak that, reduce the frequency. Even though you are very eager to provide the value for your customers, you need to do it in a way that they can actually digest what you want them to have. Otherwise, it's just noise.
In this episode, you're actually going to unveil how you're thinking about it. How do you create the right whelm, the right engagement model? You actually have some framework that you use that we're going to unveil later in this interview on how do you create the right engagement or the right journey so that it kind of gives you guardrails so that just in case you couldn't put yourself in the shoes of the clients, you actually leverage this framework to make sure that you don't. So before we start, Yair, so about 3 years ago, you were basically a CSM, Strategic Customer Success Manager at ControlUp, minding your own business, having a ton of accounts. One day, what happened? Your CEO knocks on your door and says, Houston, we have a problem. What was the problem?
So basically, product in ControlUp become a bit more complex with time, as most products are happening. And what we found out that the long tail of our customers are not getting the attention that they need. And we started to see for the first time some churn because customers didn't understand the value and didn't progress with the product. They were looking for features that we had, but when they bought the product, we didn't have. So I came with this idea of building one-to-many or a digital strategy to address this long tail. Slowly but surely, in the beginning as part-time, but then eventually full-time, I become the owner of the digital program for the long tail of our customers.
Why you, Yair? Why did you take that on? I mean, you were just basically doing your thing as a customer success manager. What prompted you to actually say, hey, let me take a stab at this?
So first of all, I did have some engagement with the long tail when support asked me for help or the sales asked me for help. And every time I engaged with those small customers, first of all, I got a kick from it, but also I saw the need for some attention from them. They have the need to be updated better about new features, new capabilities, and how they can actually get the ROI from our product. This always stayed here behind, and I wanted to do something for them. So I jumped to the opportunity. And also I recognized a trend in our profession that more automation, more technology that can handle it. And I wanted to be a part of that trend.
That's awesome. Okay, so there's some churn issues. There's software version that needs to be upgraded. There's a lot of complexity in the product that's really hard to communicate to everyone in a one-to-one basis. Roll up your sleeves, and what do you do?
So we also had a compelling event in a sense. We had to upgrade our customers, all the customers, very quickly to a new version. Basically, I chose a concept of customer hubs where they log in and all the information that they need in order to execute a specific call to action is there. They don't need to look for it in long knowledge base articles. They don't need to fumble up by themselves. Everything is there for their grab. What I did, I used a platform called Ever After in order to very easy build each customer his own unique customer hub based on the data that we know about the customer. What version are they running? What product and license do they have? And customize the exact information that they need. So it won't be broad, it will be very, very specific.
So not only a customer hub, but a customer hub that's tailored to the customer's needs based on their time in the journey, as well as the versions that they have, the products they own. Tremendous. Were there any challenges that you faced while you were building this? Did you have any concerns jumping into this?
Like anything new that you do for the first time, you always have concerns. You experiment a lot. One of the things that I learned that is very effective is listen to your customers, how they engage. You send an email, you need to do a follow-up on who opened, what opened. They do the action, but they do it only 2 steps out of 4. You didn't think that they will stop in the second step. So you need to adjust the customer hub in order to say, hey, listen, you completed step 1 and 2, let's continue with step 3 and 4. So listen to how they react to your campaign, see the difference and how they follow. You find out that there are scenarios and use cases and even edge cases that you didn't consider or didn't think of. And then you adjust and improve your digital program. And I call it buckets. You just add more and more scenarios to address each and every customer and its unique progression.
So you set up a hub fully customized to your customer's needs, semi-automated or fully automated to some degree, open to hundreds of customers. What was the impact of that initiative?
So this was a very short-term initiative. We had to approach more than 700 customers in a very short time to have them complete the upgrade. In the end, after this project, which was the first pilot for the digital program, we were able to upgrade 37% of those customers. So if you think about digital program, you would never get 100%. 37% of the customers completed the process is amazing. The overhead of tickets related to that specific upgrade was only 10 tickets to our support team.
Yeah, I want to double click on that because that means that over anywhere between 210 and 250 accounts were upgraded from this software version that was going to be deprecated. Normal times, if you did not have that hub to walk them through this, you'd literally have to hire people to do it or have somebody from your team to do it. So if there's 250 accounts that needs to be upgraded in literally 4 weeks, you would have to have a massive amount of customer success managers to actually work with each and every one of them on every step, help them with any kind of support issues or technical issues and explain everything. So the human touch here is completely inefficient. And I think that's the big win out of that project. Since then, you doubled down on the customer hub. You added way more, and we'll get into exactly what you've done after that project. But in thinking back now, you've been continuously improving that environment and adding more bells and whistles and more capabilities to it. What is the impact on the company now, 2 years after you started this initiative?
So first of all, the engagement is good. Before we have the digital program, if a new customer bought. He got an email from the salesperson, say, hi, welcome, thank you for purchasing. Here is the links to the academy. Good luck. No follow-up, no nothing. Basically, we just provided support as a reactive for the answering their questions and addressing any technical issues that they encounter. Now we have a digital onboarding program where we have a good welcome email where they can find all the information, how to roll out the product step by step with video snippets, instructions. And we noticed that we were able to reduce the average onboarding by specific criteria that we have from usage from more than 50 days to less than 35 days on average. And the overhead with tickets reduced as well, so less tickets were opened during that. So that's a huge significant. Customers that are logging into the hub during the onboarding, we can see that on average, they log in more than 5 times. And that way they complete the onboarding successful, at least the first phase.
So deflecting support tickets during onboarding, cutting down the onboarding time, and then increasing engagement in the product by 5 times. That's incredible. Okay, so maybe you can go specifically. How did you approach building it? What does it include? Maybe you can show us some examples.
When you start building a digital program, you have to know your audience. So know what they are having, what is the process, what is the journey that they're having. You need to have a clear vision, okay, where you want to be in 2 years. Where is the evergreen digital program that you want? When I started, even before, I called some customers, asked them what they need, what they expect, what is missing for them. So you need to talk to your customers to understand better. And don't be afraid to experiment. Once you have the vision, you need to define milestones. And the basic is you have the vision, you know where you want to go, and then you just reverse engineer. In order to get there, I need to do that. So you just reverse engineer till the point that you are in. And then when you start rolling it out, when you have the vision, you know what the first steps. Don't start to wait to the data that you need or everything. Just work with the things that you have. Works with what you know is working, where the data is available, where you know that there are tasks and call to actions that you send the customer without any judgment call. If this is the case, you always send the same email. Start with an easy use case. Don't start with the most complex use case because you need to learn exactly the flow. In order to have a digital program, you need to have content. So again, don't go and create specific content for that. Use the content that you have. So it can be a video tutorial, it can be a knowledge-based article. Everything is okay. So once you use the material that you have, start small, define a specific scope, see how it works, see how the audience responds to your engagement, your digital engagement, and then tweak it a bit with engaging with another slice of customers.
What I love the most about this concept is like you literally don't need to boil the ocean to just get started. Think about the content you have, where does it fit in the customer journey, and find a simple use case, test it out, see what works. We talked about not overwhelming and not underwhelming. An easy use case is a good start, but even when you break it down and you kind of start thinking about how to feed that information to clients, let's take, for example, onboarding. We still need to be very careful about how do we nurture them through that journey to get to this goal of 5x the adoption for that cohort. And so in the past, you introduced this concept that's called the bucket. What is this bucket concept and how do you leverage that when you define this program for digital engagements?
So basically, a bucket is a small framework of segmentation. So when you segment your customers, you can have 3-4 brainstorm sessions with your team because this is very significant. A bucket is very small. So basically, one bucket is a use case with a clear and defined CTA, call to action. You don't send an email with a list of call to actions to your customers. You don't want to give them the feeling that you're giving them homework. You want them to have one call to action and then they can do something else and then they came back and do a second call to action. So a bucket is like a circle of things. First of all, it's a defined call to action, as I said. The second thing is you can define this call to action by the customer data. So you have a specific telemetry of data that says, okay, all the customers that have this specific characteristics of data belong to that bucket. So a bucket can be, okay, I have 50 customers that needs to do a version upgrade, for example. And then you send them the CTA, okay, click here to do the version upgrade. And then after that, you see that out of those 50, 30 left. They already upgrade the version. So basically, the object of a bucket is to be empty. So the objective is to empty the bucket, basically. And then other customers will come in and they would need to upgrade the version, or a new version will come and then everybody needs to upgrade. But basically, a bucket is a dynamic way to contain specific customers. And they can be from all kinds of tiers and segmentation.
What triggers a customer from going from one bucket to the next? How do I know maybe that the old bucket is done, it's been emptied, and it's time for a new bucket?
So basically, customer can be in a number of buckets. Depends on how many buckets you created, but most of my customers have like 6, sometimes even 12 different buckets that they belong to. So you need to have like hierarchy. That means that one bucket has higher priority than another. Once you have the order of the buckets, you know exactly which call to action to send to the customer. So basically, you have many buckets, and then you move them from one bucket to another bucket to another bucket.
12 buckets? That sounds like a lot. Where do you maintain that list? How do you come up with this list? Can you give an example?
Basically, think about it like that. In order to define the buckets, I have in our CRM a dedicated object that I have a lot of fields that is populated on a daily basis from our product usage data, from licenses, from all kind of resources. And I aggregate those, and I have already 200 fields there. It's like a switchboard. Okay, each field is a different CTA, and the scenario or the sequence of those fields define which bucket the customer belongs to. And it's updated on a daily basis. So if I send a call to action to a customer on Tuesday, by the following day, I would be able to see if we followed the action or not, just based on the usage data.
And so if they have followed the action, you will give them the next bucket related to that specific call to action. So can you give me an example of what kind of multiple buckets can a customer be in? Can you like pick one of your customers? You don't have to tell us what the name is. Kind of share like, okay, what kind of buckets are they in right now? And what is the bucket you're hoping that they're working on now, or that you actually shared with them if they did fill it out or emptied it actually? What would happen next?
In ControlUp, we have a bit complex, very high technical product. They need to connect our product to different platforms that they use, like Citrix and Horizon. But basically, one of the actions that they need to do is to integrate ControlUp with other systems. Another bucket is take a training course. Okay, we have like 7 or 8 different courses that are available for our customers. In each milestone in their journey, we have a different course to offer them. Depends on the license, depends on their journey. We offer the right course to them. So one is training, one is connecting, configuration. If we detect in our backend that something is wrong in their configuration, we send them a CTA to fix that configuration. So that can be another bucket. So a bucket can be even a simple call to action as go to your settings and check this checkbox. That can be even a bucket. It doesn't have to be elaborate. There are mini buckets, there are big buckets, and there is always hierarchy between them.
Love it. Okay, so you mentioned that when you want a customer to do something, one thing that you might do is send an email with a link, for example, to a training Are there any other digital vehicles, if you will, or channels that you're leveraging in order to mix it up for the client? Instead of just sending an email, you might be doing something else. Is that even important?
Yeah, emails is good because it doesn't depend on the customer to be in front of the product. So our product for it specifically, you don't have to be in front of it all the time. So emails are good. We are working and hopefully to embed some of our customer hub, and we're using another tool called CastUp embedded in the product. So we will be able to have in-app alerts and notifications as well, and not just via email. But there are many ways that you can approach your customers digitally. You can do it with customer hubs. You can do it with text or WhatsApp or Slack messages. You can do it with an in-app messaging with a lot of products that are providing that capabilities as well. You will choose what works with your customers.
What if clients don't respond to the email? Does it ever happen to you where they sort of like refuse to engage with your awesome digital journey? Do you have like any escalation on that?
First of all, you will never get 100% engagement from the customers via digital program. And digital program is never 100% digital. If you send an email, 20% of the customers will probably reply that email. And that reply usually is responded by a human being. Also, they don't follow the program. You set them a beautiful program, you think that they want, but sometimes they just don't follow the program. In our case, we have the first email, we recommend the CTA, and then we send 2 reminders. After those reminders, we get a notification. If it's a critical call to action, let's say we identify something is wrong in the backend and we want them to do an action to fix that, we make sure that human CSM will contact them. If it's a phone call or an email from them and not from the digital program, we engage with them as well.
You mentioned you had 1,200 customers in that cohort. And then you have a CSM sometimes reach out if they don't complete the bucket or they don't respond or open those email engagement, or they just raise their hand and say, hey, I need help. What kind of CSM engagement model do you have for that cohort? Are you using a pooled model, or does each CSM have dozens of accounts they're designated to be their CSM?
So we used a pool model. Basically, it's me and my team. We are 3 people. Each member of the team can do all the tasks. So we do some kickoff meetings. We engage with them where we have a request from sales, or we get what we call a stack account, where we send those 3 emails and no response and no action. We have like a pool TSM, as I said, and we divided the different CTAs between us. So we have like a specialty in a sense.
Any client in that cohort can engage with either yourself or any of the other 3 CSMs to get a response when they raise the hand, and it's just the 4 of you, so it's not like it's too random. Do they get to eventually know you, like to actually have a personal connection with any of you?
Yes, we are human beings, and if we call them or meet with them on Zoom, or they have a connection, our aim is not to have like a cadence calls with them, but we have, I call it a circle of treatment, basically. There is a topic that we engage with, if it's to complete the CTA or it's something that comes from the customer itself, and we just make sure that this specific issue or this specific request is handled properly. Sometimes 1 or 2 emails is enough. Sometimes you need to do even 1 or 2 sessions, depends on the complexity of the topic.
One of the cool things that you created as part of your digital experience is this persona called Oliver, which is sometimes a doctor, sometimes a professor. What is this avatar? How do you leverage that? And what was the client's reactions to it?
For years and years, ControlUp had a mascot called Oliver. What I did, I leveraged it to the digital program, and Oliver is our virtual CSM, basically. So he has his own email, oliver.s@controlup.com. He's coming and sending. We have like cast. We send like a video where Oliver speaks, makes jokes, and Oliver has brothers. So basically we invented 4 characters. We have regular Oliver. So usually when it's an account level like CTA, integrate your systems with ControlUp is on account level. It's not on the user level. So usually we send regular Oliver or Dr. Oliver if something is wrong or they need to do an upgrade. Dr. Oliver will come to a house visit and say, hey, listen, it's time to upgrade. It's time for your health check. We detected that something is. So Dr. Oliver comes where an action required regarding the platform health. Regular Oliver comes where usually during the onboarding when they need to do certain tasks to complete the rollout. Professor Oliver will come every time we want to recommend a course or they are delinquent with the homework, they didn't finish the exercise or something like that. Professor Oliver will come and say, hey, listen, come on, let's do it together. And we have Techie Oliver. So Professor Oliver and Techie Oliver on the user level. So we onboard new users. You can have a customer that is 2 years with you, but then the system identifies that there is a new user. So this new user didn't have any training, is not familiar so much with the product. Professor Oliver will offer them some training. Techie Oliver will update them with new features, also with new cool stuff that they can do with the product, and sometimes outside the product, just because there is news about the industry that we are working in the IT industry that we thought it would be interesting for the customers. So Techie Oliver is the fun buddy. Usually comes on Fridays because it's a slow day and you can have some time to get deeper into new features or read an article or a blog. Professor Oliver will come during the week and say, listen, do the courses. Dr. Oliver, whenever needs a doctor.
The Oliver persona, when you say they say, it's usually like the email is actually coming from Oliver. That's why it has its own email, but sometimes you actually personify it with, I think you're using cast.app, which creates those automated videos. And then the persona, the character is Oliver. And that releases the dependency that the client has with any of the CSMs that belong to the pool CSM. I want to ask you, it sounds so clever, especially for the end users. Are you also catering any kind of end user, Oliver, a professor, or the techie, to end users in the strategic accounts?
So this is a program that I'm going to work on. So the decision was made that we are going to leverage the digital program that we have for the long tail to start helping our CSMs with their routine work. So instead of the CSM sending emails to new users to this course, the Oliver can take. So again, where there's no judgment call, Oliver can come and do that outreach in specific call to actions. The beautiful thing that we already put in is some control and management capabilities for the CSMs. So CSMs, especially for the strategic accounts, they know their customers. They know what will go good and what won't be working so good. So they have the ability to control which CTAs or actually opt out specific CTAs that they don't want Oliver to approach the customer, but also they can opt out specific users. So let's say the decision maker, they don't want Oliver to be sent to them. That's great. They can opt out specific users as well.
I hope the main takeaway that anybody who listens to and watches this podcast, either on YouTube or on Spotify, take away from this is this bucket concept. You empty one bucket, then you introduce another one, keep it simple, one CTA at a time, leverage content you already have. And if you haven't started yet, start with something simple.
Don't be afraid to start. Don't bite too much at the beginning. Enjoy the process and the journey. It's a journey that you're taking with your customer in a different way.
Yeah, I love that. And then pooled CSM model. You don't have to have 1:75 ratio. You could just have all 1,200 accounts managed by 4 people. And just to clarify, your team doesn't just respond to just-in-time needs for those client cohorts, but they also create the content. They dream up additional buckets. They make the system more sophisticated. So I think it's a great role for anybody that is, I have a little bit of a marketing flair with some technology skills and love creating new things and does want to be in interactions with clients. I think that's a great role. I want to thank you for sharing this with everyone that listens to our channel. It opens up a new type of CSM role.
Thank you. Very proud of my team and what we have accomplished and what we are going to accomplish in the future.
Everyone, if you loved this content, please give it a like. Feel free to reach out to Yair Bortinger on LinkedIn. I'll include the link in the description of the podcast episode below. So go check it out. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching and for listening to our podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you at the next episode.